I should have known something was wrong when Marcus's mother asked to see my tax returns at our third dinner together. She didn't laugh. She didn't soften it. She asked the way people ask if you want more water. Polite, automatic, and expecting compliance. "Darling," Patricia said, smiling over her wine glass. "We're just trying to understand your situation. Marcus's father and I have worked so hard to build what we have. You understand?" I was 28. I owned a digital marketing agency with 11 employees and a steady client base. That same week, I'd signed a six-figure contract with a regional hospital network. I'd had a seven-figure year before, more than Marcus's salary, and my situation was fine. I smiled anyway. I prefer to keep my finances private. Her smile stayed in place, but her eyes cooled. Of course, privacy is important when there's something to protect. Marcus squeezed my hand under the table like that was supposed to help. In the car, he said, "You could have just shown her. It would have made things easier." That was month 3, and I didn't know it yet, but almost 2 years later, Patricia would call me again, voice shaking, asking for money. Marcus came from money, the kind that means you've never done mental math at a gas pump. His father, Richard, ran a commercial real estate firm. His mother chaired charity boards and hosted fundraisers where people bid on vacations they didn't need. Marcus worked in finance and spoke with the calm confidence of a man who'd never been treated like an inconvenience. I came from a different kind of pride. My mom worked doubles as a nurse. My dad did maintenance for a school district until his knees gave out. We weren't starving, but we lived close enough to the edge that every surprise expense felt like a threat. I went to a state school because it was affordable, built my agency the slow way, and paid for my life without asking anyone permission. His family never believed any of that mattered. At first, it was subtle. Death by 1,000 polite cuts. Dinner after dinner, Patricia would ask why I settled for state school. Richard wanted to know who backed my company, like success needed a sponsor. Marcus's sister Lauren introduced me as Marcus's friend who does social media, and when I corrected her, she laughed like I was adorable for taking my life seriously. Marcus always had a line ready. "They're just protective. They're old-fashioned. Don't take it personally." At first, I thought those were explanations. Then I realized they were instructions. Be quieter. Be smaller. Make it easy. One Friday, Marcus invited me to a casual cocktail thing his firm was hosting for clients. I wore a simple black dress and a blazer. Professional. Nothing flashy. I figured it would be good to support him the way he was always asking me to support his family. Patricia and Richard were there too because of course they were. Patricia kissed Marcus's cheek, then turned to me with her polished smile, loud enough for nearby people to hear. "Sarah," she said, "how's your little business? Still keeping you busy?" "It's an agency," I said evenly. "And yes." The couple beside her glanced at me, then at Marcus, trying to figure out the social script. Patricia patted my arm like I was a nervous intern. "Well," she said, "as long as it keeps you occupied." A few minutes later, Richard introduced Marcus to a man in a gray suit. "This is the kind of connection you need, son," Richard said. "People who understand long-term value." I stood there beside Marcus like a handbag. No introduction, no curiosity. Just the assumption that I didn't belong in the value conversation. On the ride home, I said, "Your mother called my agency little again, in front of your clients." Marcus didn't even look over. "It was a party, Sarah. Don't start." "I'm not starting. I'm telling you what happened." He tightened his grip on the steering wheel. "She didn't mean it that way." "Then what way did she mean it?" Marcus was quiet for a beat. Then, "Why do you care so much what they think?" "Because you care more about their comfort than my dignity?" I thought. Instead, I said, "Because you're supposed to be on my side." He laughed once, sharp. "I am, but you make it hard." That was the first time he said the quiet part out loud. My job was to be easy to disrespect. After another dinner, I tried again. I don't like how they talk to me, I said. He rubbed his forehead like I was asking him to solve world peace. They're trying to get to know you. They're interrogating me. He glanced at me. You always hear the worst version. It feels like the worst version, I said, because I'm the one living it. Marcus's jaw tightened. Can you just not? I don't want to be in the middle. That was the moment I realized he didn't see himself as my partner. He saw himself as the space between me and his parents, and he liked it there, because it meant he never had to choose a side. The first time I truly understood he agreed with them was small. I mentioned I was thinking about buying a bigger office instead of renewing our lease. New conference rooms, more privacy for client calls, a place that matched the work we were doing. He frowned. Wouldn't it be smarter to wait until after we're married? Then it's safer. My business is already safe, I said. He shrugged. You didn't grow up with resources. You're used to doing everything alone. The story his family told about me was coming out of his mouth like it belonged there. And then, as casually as if he was asking what I wanted for dessert, he added, My dad thinks it's smart when couples, you know, get the paperwork out of the way. Paperwork? I repeated. He looked away. Just practical stuff. Assets. Protections. That was the first time the word hung in the air without being said. The prenup wasn't the first crack. It was just the first time they printed the disrespect on paper. It happened at Sunday dinner in month 11. Richard cleared his throat like he was announcing quarterly earnings. We've been thinking about the future. Patricia smiled. It's time to discuss practical matters. A thick folder sat beside Richard's plate like a weapon placed gently on the table. We had our attorney draft a prenuptial agreement, Richard said. Nothing personal, just protecting what Marcus will inherit. We're not engaged, I said. Patricia's smile sharpened. Not yet, but why wait until emotions complicate things? Adults plan. If we ever get engaged, I said, that's a conversation Marcus and I will have. Not you. The room cooled. We're protecting our son, Patricia said. Surely you understand, unless you object to protecting him? I object to being treated like a threat, I said. Richard's voice hardened. We're being realistic. You come from a different background, different values. It's prudent. I looked at Marcus. Marcus? He finally looked up. They have a point. It's standard. If you're not after my money, what's the problem? Something in my chest snapped. Quietly, cleanly. A standard prenup is something partners discuss together, I said. This is your parents telling me I'm untrustworthy, and you're agreeing. You're twisting it, Marcus said too fast. Patricia lifted her wine glass. If you're not after Marcus's money, signing shouldn't be an issue. I stood. I've never asked Marcus for a dime, I said, keeping my voice level. I pay my share. I bought my own condo. I built my business from nothing. But for 11 months, you've treated me like I'm trying to scam your son because I didn't grow up in a house like this. Then I looked straight at Marcus. And you let it happen, I said. Every time. Marcus stood too. That's not fair. Name one time you defended me, I said. One. He opened his mouth, closed it, glanced at his parents, then back at me. That look answered everything. I'll send someone for my things tomorrow, I said. Enjoy your dinner. I walked out. Marcus followed me into the driveway. Sarah, wait. You're overreacting. I'm reacting appropriately, I said, keys in my hand. This is just how they are, he insisted. And this is how you are, I said. You care more about their comfort than my dignity. Don't do this, he pleaded. We can work it out. No, I said. We can't because you don't think anything is wrong. They'll come around, he said, desperate. I don't want them to come around, I replied. I want a partner who doesn't need his parents' permission to respect me. I got in my car and drove away. I cried the whole drive home. Then I didn't cry again. Marcus called the next morning. "Can we talk?" he asked, voice rough. "We talked for 11 months, I said. "This isn't fair," he insisted. "You left in the middle of dinner. You embarrassed my parents." I let the silence stretch, then said, "You're worried about their embarrassment. They were trying to protect me." "No," I said. "They were trying to control me, and you let them." Marcus exhaled, frustrated. "They're scared, Sarah. They've seen people come in and—" "Stop," I cut in. "You keep talking about people like I'm a category." "I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did," I said, still calm. "If you believed I was your partner, you would have shut them down the first time they tested me. The first time they hinted I was here for money." He went quiet, then smaller. "So you're really done?" "I'm done," I said. He tried one last angle. "If you love me, you'll at least meet with them. Smooth things over." That was the line that made it easy. "If you loved me," I said, "you wouldn't be asking me to apologize for being disrespected." I hung up. Grief makes excellent fuel. It also makes you ruthless about where your time goes. I raised my rates. I tightened our process. I stopped taking clients who wanted discounts and chaos. I hired a compliance consultant instead of pretending I could figure it out later. 6 months after the breakup, we landed an anchor contract with a statewide healthcare group. Patient privacy marketing, strict approvals, weekly reporting, zero room for sloppy. We delivered. They renewed. They referred us. Within a year, I doubled my staff and moved into a bigger office. Bright, quiet, hours. And all through it, I kept thinking about one thing I'd wanted to do long before Marcus: build something that made life lighter for people who didn't start with a safety net. So I did. I grew up paycheck to paycheck, one broken transmission away from disaster. I knew what it felt like to be smart and motivated with no cushion. So I created one: a scholarship fund for first-generation college students going into business, marketing, or tech. 10 students a year. Tuition, books, and a small stipend so they could work less and study more. It wasn't a random burst of generosity. It was structured, an automatic percentage of profit, rooted into a separate foundation account like any other line item that mattered. Sustainable, protected, real. We held the first ceremony in our office: folding chairs, cheap cupcakes, families packed into the room. I watched a student's mother cry because her kid wouldn't have to drop out to work full-time. A local news station did a short segment. Then a regional magazine ran a piece with photos. Patricia sat on enough nonprofit boards that she lived on those magazines. Someone probably slid it across a table with a little sympathetic shake of the head. "Can you believe this is Marcus's ex?" And Patricia, who had spent a year assuming I wanted their money, read about scholarships and decided I must be the kind of person who couldn't say no. That's how Patricia found my number again. Almost 2 years after I walked out of that dining room, my assistant knocked on my office door. "Sarah," she said carefully, "you have a call from Patricia Harrington." My stomach dropped. "Tell her I'm unavailable." "She says it's urgent," my assistant added. "Family emergency." I stared at my screen for a beat, then picked up the phone. "This is Sarah." "Sarah," Patricia said, voice strained, missing its usual polish. "Thank you. I wasn't sure you'd take my call." "I almost didn't," I said. "What do you want?" A pause. A controlled inhale. "Richard's business has hit difficulties," she said. "Serious difficulties." I stayed silent. "We're facing significant financial challenges," she continued, "and we saw the story about your scholarship fund, about your company. We were hoping you'd be willing to talk." "There it is," I said softly. "A request?" Patricia's tone warmed, coached. "We may have misjudged you. We're sorry for any misunderstandings." Misunderstandings, I repeated. We were protecting Marcus, she insisted. What happened? I asked. She exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. Rates rose, she said. Loans reset. A downtown project lost an anchor tenant, then another stopped paying. There's a lawsuit, contractor dispute. Legal fees are substantial. We may have to sell the house. The words came faster now, like she could outrun the humiliation. We're not asking for charity, she added quickly. We're asking for a business opportunity. Bridge capital, an investment. You'd see returns. You called me because you saw the scholarship, I said. Yes, she said, too eager. You've shown compassion. We thought you might understand. Then she tried the angle she thought would work. Given your background, she said, you know what it's like to struggle, to fear losing everything. I let out a short laugh. You spent a year making sure I knew I wasn't good enough for your family because of my background, and now you want my help because of it? Patricia's voice trembled. We were wrong about you. Were you? I asked. Or are you just out of options? We can see it now, she rushed. We're sorry. I waited. Then I asked, are you sorry you treated me that way? Or sorry you need something from me and you burned the bridge? Silence. Here's the thing. I am generous, but generosity doesn't mean access. I'll say this once, I told her. I help people who treat me like family. You didn't. We were protecting Marcus. You were protecting your money, I said. And Marcus helped by letting me be the villain. Marcus still cares about you, Patricia said quickly, like she could use him as leverage. Marcus chose you over me, I said. Every time. Patricia's mask slipped. Her voice sharpened. So you're just going to let us lose everything? I kept my tone even. You're going to experience consequences. That isn't me harming you. Sarah, please. I'm not investing, I said. I'm not meeting. Goodbye, Patricia. I hung up. My hand was shaking, not from regret. Just release. My assistant hovered in the doorway. Are you okay? I looked at her. Smart, driven, one of our early scholarship recipients, now our operations manager. And I smiled. Yeah, I said. I really am. 2 days later, I got a text from an unknown number. My parents told me what happened. That was cruel. Marcus. I stared at it for a long moment, then typed back, cruel was watching the person who said he loved me. Let his family treat me like a con artist. I hope they figure things out. But not because I saved them. I blocked the number. A week after that, we held our scholarship ceremony. 10 students stood in a line, families packed into our conference room. I shook each student's hand. You earned this, I told them. Don't let anyone make you feel like you don't belong in the room. Afterward, a father pulled me aside, voice cracking. Thank you for seeing my kid. That was the real win. Not Patricia's panic, not Richard's fear, not Marcus's regret. The win was building a life where respect wasn't something I had to negotiate for. 3 years later, my company is on pace to break 8 figures. The scholarship fund has sent 40 students to college. I'm dating someone who introduces me as his partner at every family dinner, and whose mother asks about my business because she's genuinely curious, not because she's hunting for proof. Last month, I saw Marcus in a coffee shop. He looked tired, older, like someone who'd spent a long time trying to hold up a collapsing story. He opened his mouth like he might say something. I smiled, small, polite, picked up my order and walked past him without a word. Some victories are loud. Mine was quiet. They called me a gold digger, until they needed what I built. I was never a gold digger. I was a builder, and I stopped offering my work, my life, to people who only valued me when they needed something from me. Do you know what the funny thing is? The only people who ever demanded my tax returns were the same ones who later came asking for my money. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe for more stories like it.